administrators and teachers the process. Now you'll notice when you talk to them about outcome-based education, they keep saying it's a process. And the process is the most important thing. Well, as I say, I object to the process altogether. But even if we go so far as to say the process is okay, the reason they want to keep your minds on the process is because in doing so, you forget the real nuts and bolts of schooling, and that's the curriculum. Curriculum is what is being taught. And while they've got our minds on the process of OBE, all kinds of ugly things are being taught as far as subject matter and curriculum. And right now we are shifting from the basics that we all think of as being pretty basic, reading, writing, arithmetic. We're shifting now to the new basics. But ask them to define the new basics. It's very hard to find somebody who will define them. Well, I'm going to give you my definition tonight. My definition of the new basics comes from one thing and one thing only. And it's an old concept in education. It's called time on task. It's what we put our time into. That's what we're going to learn. If I have a child sit down and I engage that child during a long period of time with reading, they're going to learn reading. Same thing with writing. So we look at what is going on in the schools. What are they spending their time on? Well, the new basics become sex, drugs, violence, and death. And then we wonder why our kids are so screwed up. I don't wonder, but many of the teachers wonder. Many of the administrators wonder. But think about it. We have sex prevention, or sex education, which is supposed to prevent sexual promiscuity, supposed to prevent transmission of STDs. And what have we seen since we've had sex education? We've seen the numbers of children who are prematurely engaged in sex go up. We've seen the number of STDs in schools go up. We have drug education. The same thing holds true. And one of the reasons these things happen is if we go back to observational learning and the modeling. If you think about it, role modeling, that's another cute little thing they do, and they do that within sex ed classes and on violence education. One example would be a role play of you take a 14, 15-year-old boy and a 14, 15-year-old girl, and you have them role play a date rape situation. Well, they keep telling us all this stuff's based on best practices research. But I don't think they read the research, because the research tells us that if I'm role-playing the part of a boy who is engaging in a date rape, what I'm going to do is identify with my character, which is going to make me more likely, not less likely, to go out and commit a date rape. So what they get is exactly the opposite, and that's what's happening. We have more children involved with sex, we have more children involved in drugs, we have a higher incidence of violence in our schools. Now they're actually going to, I think, try to start teaching suicide prevention. There are some of these things that really start to worry me. So those are some things you want to be very aware of, because you want to go into schools and you want to look at what is being taught, not just how. Sure, we all know about OBE, or most of us do. And we know that it's not probably good. But look at what they're teaching. After all, there's only three things really in education within the formal education setting. One's of course the child, most importantly. The other's the teacher, and the other's the curriculum. And so those are the things you want to look at. And the curriculum is being changed. That leads me to the question of what is going on here. You know, I've gone all over the state, and I've watched all this happening. And for the longest time, and I don't know whether any of you out there have thought this too, but for the longest time I thought, I must be crazy. What is going on? I mean, I've got to be absolutely crazy. Well, because of my psychology background, maybe that fascinated me, and I sort of drug out some of my old books and got to looking at it. And no, folks, I want to tell you, because you're here and you're fighting this, and maybe you need to hear it like I needed to tell it to myself. You're not crazy. They are. They are very crazy. These people who are doing this, and I don't care whether they're teachers or administrators or on up the echelon, legislators, so forth and so on, they're either very, very ill-informed or they are what we call psychopathic. Now, a psychopath is a person who has a very clear understanding of reality, except for a couple of things. They don't have a good handle on social or moral obligation. And I submit to you that you're not crazy, I'm not crazy, because we see the child abuse that is going on in our schools. They do not see it because they're psychopathic. They're either ill-informed or they're psychopathic. They have forgotten their moral or social conscience. Because, folks, it is immoral to any rational thinking person to put a child through this. And it surely does not uphold a society, which we all have an obligation to do. So don't ever go into a school or a district and allow them to say, well, you're out of it. You just don't understand. No, because it's they who do not understand. And hold on to that, because this is a fight, as we all know. This is a battle for the souls of the children.